And here's a question that nobody in mainstream physics has cleanly answered. How does a radio wave travel through empty space? A wave is a disturbance in a medium. That's not a theory. That's the definition of a wave. Sound waves are disturbances in air. Ocean waves are disturbances in water. You can't have a wave without something to wave through. So when mainstream physics tells you radio waves propagate through a vacuum, through nothing, they've created a problem. And they've never solved it. They just stopped talking about it. Here's how they got there. In 1887, the Michelson-Morley experiment was designed to detect ether, the medium that electromagnetic waves were assumed to travel through. The experiment didn't find what they expected. So what did they do? Instead of questioning the experimental design or the assumptions built into it, they concluded the medium doesn't exist. They didn't disprove ether. They got a result they didn't expect and abandoned the question completely. From that point forward, mainstream physics has been working with a wave that has no medium. They called it a self-propagating transverse wave, a disturbance that carries itself through nothing. But that's not physics. That's a definition built around the absence of an explanation. So, let me show you what the Aether framework actually explains. Ken Wheeler, who has spent decades working through the dielectric field framework, makes a point about gyroscopic precession that answers this directly. Take a gyroscope, spin it up. It precesses. It resists changes to its orientation and slowly rotates around a central axis. Mainstream physics describes this with torque equations. The math is accurate, but as Ken points out, accurate description is not the same as explanation. And there's a test that matters. Remove all the air from the room. Put the gyroscope in a perfect vacuum. It still precesses every time without exception. So air drag is not the mechanism. Ken's explanation is that the spinning mass is moving through the ether, and that movement creates drag in the ether itself. Ether drag, not atmospheric drag. His exact words, there's a different type of drag that's not air at all. The fact that the spinning matter in and of the ether is causing torque. It's ether drag. In his definition of what a field actually is, a field is an ether perturbation modality. Now, apply that directly to radio waves. Remove all the air between a transmitter and a receiver. The signal still travels. We observe this. It's not disputed. Mainstream physics says that proves waves travel through nothing. The Aether framework says it proves something else entirely. Air was never the medium. The ether is the medium. It's present whether air is there or not. When you remove the air, the ether remains. The disturbance propagates through the continuous elastic medium that was always there. The air molecules aren't the medium. They're floating in the medium. This is the same framework Ken applies to the gyroscope. Same substrate, two different interactions. Mass moving through an ether creates drag. A transmitter disturbing the ether creates propagating field disturbance. One medium, everything floating in it. Everything disturbing it in different ways. The mainstream abandoned this explanation in 1887 and replaced it with a wave that waves through nothing. They kept the math. They lost the mechanism. And Ken's line says it best. You can describe something accurately all day long with formulas and labels. Torque, self-propagating transverse wave, golden ratio. But until you can explain it, you don't understand it. They handed you a vacuum and told you all the air was removed. What they didn't tell you is that the ether, the actual medium, was still there. The vacuum was never empty of medium. It was just empty of air. And they never disclosed the difference. The medium was never missing. They just stopped looking for it.